Hello and welcome to the internationally acclaimed The Grant Street Experience. I am your host, Grant Ervin. It's good to be with you all here today. I have our fabulous co-host with us, Rebecca Kiernan.
Morning, Grant.
Rebecca, how you doing?
Great. I'm on a comfy couch.
I know. So let's start off here. How about this setup?
Got a new set.
Got a new set.
Got some awards.
We got some hardware here that we get to share with everyone. Kind of, Dave Finer's Boston Red Sox Church Little League Coach Finer Trophy, Richie Ziss bobblehead, which I don't know where that came from, and all this fabulous hardware here that we've earned over the last couple weeks and months.
We've had a couple of big weeks.
A couple of big weeks here in the city of Pittsburgh. So, but let's get started about the set that the team has put together here. What's your thoughts?
I think we're going to need a band.
We're going to need a band? like a live in-studio band? Is
Probably,
that what's next?
Yep.
I think we should probably do started auditions maybe in the next week or so for the holidays.
I'm for it.
All right. Like, are you thinking jazz or kind of like a full ensemble, horns, guitar?
I'm not sure yet.
All right. So we got to keep our eye out for
Yeah,
it.
possibilities are open.
These are endless. We do have to find the Velvet Unicorn.
Yeah.
That's a throwback for some of our original listeners. Rebecca found, what is the story? I'll let you tell it. The original Velvet Unicorn.
It's a velvet gold leaf unicorn. Yeah, brought it in.
Brought it in. It's the official mascot.
First episode.
Official mascot of the Grant Street Experience. So we have an exciting show here today. I'm really excited, not just because of the set and we're in person, and so that's super exciting, I think, for the Grant Street Experience listeners. But we have one of our close colleagues and friends who has come back to us today. And so maybe you want to give a little intro and lead for our next guest?
Today we have Haley Platt, former executive assistant to the mayor, newly at the Allegheny Conference.
That's exciting. Well, let's bring her out. Haley Platt, welcome to the Grant Street Experience.
Hey. Hi, and unicorn here for you.
Where are we going to put it?
Put it right in between us.
Put it right in between us there.
Yeah, there we go.
So that's awesome. Haley,
It's
great to see you. This is terrific.
Hello.
So you are our first guest on this terrific new set that we have, which is it's like a new toy.
I like it.
I mean,
I'm very excited about it for you guys.
What's your first take of it? You're the first person to kind of, to call you a guest to sit on the couch. Does it give you like a feeling?
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited. I'm not gonna lie, yesterday I was texting Rebecca and I was a little bit nervous about coming on your show.
The hard-hitting questions, is that the?
Yes, but I saw that you were all sitting around a table and I was like, it's gonna feel like an interview, so I love this setup.
It's a good vibe.
Much more relaxed.
Much more relaxed.
Yes.
So it's like sitting in the living room and just, kind of little senseless, maybe sensical kind of banter that we'll have. So it'll be great.
Perfect, we're good at that.
It's like we got a new award, we got a new vibe. I like it.
Yeah, there's awards, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to have you back. We'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah, we get to kind of share the space.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
So this is awesome. Where did you find the unicorn? Was it just like off to the side, or?
I thought it was gone forever. I thought it was like a pandemic loss.
We can't get rid of her. Yeah, it was just around. That's awesome. So Haley, maybe just to start the conversation off, tell listeners a little bit about yourself and maybe how you came to Pittsburgh, because I also learned something about you the other day that I'm going to get into for a second. So you're a native of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I grew up like 20 minutes outside of D.C. in Northern Virginia, Fairfax County, and I kind of randomly ended up at the University of Pittsburgh. I applied to a bunch of schools, Pitt because they had a good basketball team at the time. And I had watched them as a UVA fan growing up play against each other, and my dad was like, you should throw in an application. I did. I visited and really enjoyed the city and decided to come here for university. So
awesome. Was it a love at first sight type of thing? Was it your first time in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Accepted Students Day was my first time in Pittsburgh.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. And so you come here as a student. You have, what did you study at the university?
I was a triple major in Russian, French, and political science.
Whoa.
Russian, French, and political science.
Yes.
So a linguist.
Yeah.
Now, do you still practice your language skills?
I do. I actually had this question on a job interview, and they asked me how I maintain my language skills when you can't travel internationally, or it's very limited at the moment. And I was explaining how I have conversations with myself in Russian and French, because you can talk to friends over text. We do that all the time.
Okay.
We use WhatsApp to communicate, but actually having verbal communication is pretty limited for me. So I'll be walking down the street and I'll see something and say it to myself in French or Russian instead of saying it in English, and that's how I just keep up with spontaneous.
Oh, interesting.
Thinking on the spot.
Now, I'm always kind of really interested in this because I'm terrible with languages. I struggled through German, I struggled through Spanish, I struggled through Russian. How did you get into language, and why Russian and French?
So French started in 8th grade, I think.
Okay. So you have a pretty deep history then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason why I stuck through French all through high school and continued in college was I had a really great French teacher who treated me like family, and I still keep in touch with her. And I thought I would just get a minor, and then I came to Pitt and loved my French professors.
Okay.
And they convinced me to get a major, and I was lucky enough to study abroad.
In France?
In France, yeah. I did also study abroad in Russia for a semester. I started learning Russian through an Army ROTC program called Project Go. So I started out with a complete immersive experience. We went in on day one and they only spoke Russian in the classroom. So the first couple of weeks were pretty
With no prior experience?
yeah.
Oh my.
I didn't really talk much.
Okay. Why is that girl so quiet in the back of the class?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started learning Russian there and came back, and Pitt actually has one of the best Russian language programs in the country. So it just kind of worked out that was my next language that I was able to start learning. And I did a semester at Moscow State University and spent a summer in Russia.
Wow. Now, is it difficult, once you start learning another language, is it easier to pick up another language?
I think,
You know what I mean? Going from French to Russian, or, because they're two totally different.
They're very different.
Alphabet and everything.
yeah, so French is a Romance language. It has a lot of roots with Spanish and Italian. Which would have made learning those languages easier, but unfortunately I didn't do that.
You're up for a challenge.
Yeah, Russian is the Cyrillic alphabet and has almost no basis in the Romance root languages.
Wow.
But there are some words that overlap, and I would get super excited when I would learn a word that was the same in French and Russian. So.
That's awesome.
But I do think it made it a little bit easier, understanding how you are supposed to learn grammar rules.
Okay. So the process of learning a language is there's a certain infrastructure mechanics to that, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Do they teach Russian and French in the Russian and French rooms in the cathedral? The classrooms?
No, we didn't.
Oh,
That would have been a good idea, though.
Yeah.
that's what
I did have a Russian history class in the Slovak room, so we were closer on that side of the world. But
Now, is there you said you studied there too, but are there other immersive opportunities in Pittsburgh? For example, my brother he speaks French, and so and we have our colleague Fleur Marion, who is our resident French expert, and there's a Francophile Pittsburgh organization, which I've found really interesting. Yeah. So do you participate in groups like that?
I've been to a couple of their events. Most of them are virtual now due to the pandemic, but they do have picnics over the summer that I've attended in the past, which is a cool way to stay connected.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you have a second language?
Speak really bad Indonesian,
Really bad Indonesian.
like 4-year-old.
That's cool.
What's that story?
I have Indonesian family and lived with them in Indonesia for a year. But my cousin was 3 or 4 when I was over there. So I would watch SpongeBob dubbed in Indonesian, and I'd teach him English and he would teach me Indonesian. So I speak like a 4-year-old.
I like it.
Yeah.
Is Indonesian difficult to?
No, they don't have. They're not big on like grammar.
Okay.
And it's a relatively new language. So they actually adapted it from Malaysian in the 50s.
Yeah.
So they didn't have a national language until very recently. So a lot of people still don't even speak it. There's a lot of tribal languages.
Because there's thousands of islands, and I would imagine
Yeah.
hundreds of dialects.
There's thousands of dialects. So yeah, they started teaching it in schools, I think, relatively in the 1900s, 1950s, I think.
Is it the same for Russian and French? Like, I know there's some differences, like between Canadian French and I'll call it continental French, if that's right. Is it the same for Russian, or?
Russian's a little bit more loose than the French language. Has very, very strict rules, and they are very proud of their language. And Russian's a little bit more laid back. Really? I think most languages are a little bit more laid back than French Francophile speakers are. But
Now, do you look to travel to other places that use those languages? Like,
yeah, I would love to. I know the current climate in Belarus is not the greatest, but that's where my great-great-grandfather is from. So, yeah, so I would love to one day go back and maybe visit his hometown and see where my family started.
and test your language skills.
Test my language skills for sure. That would be, every time, because Russian is my newer language, I have a harder time understanding accents in different
Okay.
Russian-speaking areas. So that would definitely be a challenge for me.
Interesting. So you studied at the University of Pittsburgh, and then what was the next step for you? It was to come here, right?
Yes, I started out as an intern in May of 2019, right after I graduated in April, and by August I had accepted a full-time position as assistant to the mayor and transitioned immediately from internship into full-time job. Right from college student to internship to full-time job, all within a matter of months.
So it was like,
And that's an intense job.
Yeah. So it was quite a whirlwind. And then the holiday season, or like the fall and the holiday season are like the busiest times, I feel like, for the mayor's office. There's a lot going on. So it was quite a lot to take under.
Was there a bridge period, and like, or did they just like sit you down in the chair and like go for it?
I mean, my internship was kind of the bridge period, I guess.
So you knew the systems and kind of where things are operating.
Yeah, but then one day the woman who was training me wasn't there anymore, and it was suddenly like all my responsibility. So it happened pretty quickly. I was 23 and trying to balance becoming an adult, which I joke around that I'm still
working on that. So, just to let you know, there's a long runway to this.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out that, but not being a college student anymore and like having an apartment to myself, paying my own bills, like being responsible for everything myself, and also figuring out a new job that was pretty high stakes for a 23-year-old.
So let's talk about this job. So you are, anybody who's in that position is indispensable in terms of the operations of the city and the management of the mayor's office and frankly, like the management of the mayor, right? Talk about kind of your role and what goes in, or your former role, and kind of like what goes into some of that day to day. Because that's like, I'm fascinated about just my own history here, like whether it's been Lori or Kate or Allie, like some of your predecessors and yourself, just how you guys keep it all together. And so it's a very commendable job, I think. But tell us a little bit about that.
I would.
How the hell do you do it? Like that's.
I would say that I didn't necessarily have it all together, but I could make it seem seamless. But internally, I was definitely freaking out most days. But my favorite and least favorite thing I always say about this job was that nothing is the same. Every day you come in and you can have it 100% planned out to the minute, and it will never stay that way. Things are constantly changing, the city's constantly moving, pieces are moving, and that's something that was really difficult for me to learn, that like things are not going to happen necessarily the way that you planned it, but you just have to roll with it, try your best to pick it up and fix it and move on from it. So that was probably, I always say it's my favorite and least favorite thing.
Is the dynamism of like ever-changing schedules and this happening, this not happening?
Yeah, but I was really lucky that the immediate team that I worked with was so forgiving in my taking in all this information and processing it and working through it. And we all just got along really well.
It was a great group of people.
Made it so much easier.
I feel like you probably have one of the most interesting jobs out there. Like, do you have any wacky, shareable stories?
Wacky, shareable stories.
Like anything wild happen?
I will tell the story of my last full day in the mayor's office, actually. We went to Hayes Woods, which is our newest park in Pittsburgh. It is amazing. I had never been there before.
I love it there.
I am so
You're
excited.
making like Rebecca's heart's like pitter pat.
Well, we'll have to go for a hike because I'm so excited. I was told there are bald eagles there, which I would love to go see. So we were doing this big press conference. We signed, the form to officially buy the park and a proclamation, and we planted a tree, and it was super exciting. But in the car ride over, the mayor had promised me the greatest view of the city.
Okay, there's some good ones over there.
I was promised this. So he was like, we're going to go find the greatest view of the city. And I was like, okay. And this man rode his unicycle down the hill to see the press conference. And it gets so much better. So he rode his unicycle down this hill, and he's like, oh, I live right up the street. I've lived there my entire life. I'd love to show you the greatest view in the park.
Hold on, so this guy like intercepts you and the mayor and Detective Phil probably, and like the security detail, and so guy on unicycle, this is not planned, this is totally random. Okay.
Did you get on his handlebars? Unicycle, how does that
There are no
work?
handlebars on a unicycle.
Like, on his shoulders?
So we finished the press conference, and he's like, I will take you to the best view. And we're like, the mayor's like, yes, of course, let's go. So we get in Phil's car, we're driving behind this man. He gets off his unicycle, gets in a truck, and we're driving.
Oh, okay. I was envisioning like a 3-stack of you guys on a unicycle.
Pretty close. So we're driving down, and it is clearly not a path that's ready for people to be on yet.
Okay.
And it gets narrower and narrower and narrower, and then there's like no path. So Phil's like, I'm not driving down this road anymore. And the guy said, well, you can get in my truck. So we get out of Phil's car, and the mayor and I get in the bed of the pickup truck, and Phil gets in the cab of the pickup truck.
Okay.
And
in case he needs to take the wheel or whatever.
kind of. And we are driving through the woods. It is not a path for cars to be on by any means.
Yeah.
And he's like having to really rev it through to get through these big like mud and water like pits.
It's a wild space.
Yeah. So we are like bouncing around in the back of the bed of the truck. There are like leaves, because we kept hitting branches, so I'm like covering my face like this. There's like mud splattered all over me, and we are like bouncing in the back of the bed of this pickup truck. We go, the view is not cleared at all for where we work. It was beautiful, but it was not cleared. And
Not ready for prime.
by then I was like wet and covered with mud and like had leaves and like ticks on me, and I was like, this is not not how I thought I was going to spend my last day, but I've not laughed that hard. I've never heard the mayor laugh that hard. We were having the best time.
That's awesome.
And then we came back to work eventually, and we had to give the key to the city to 2 very important CMU employees.
Yeah.
And I had mud on my face and leaves in my hair, and the mayor's like picking off clumps of leaves. And I had to get checked for ticks, and it was...
So it was like literally like an experience in the wilderness. Like,
yes, my second to last day in the mayor's office. So that's probably my...
That's epic.
pretty epic.
I have not laughed that hard. I don't know what would ever make me laugh that hard.
So what happened to the unicycle guy? Is he like, thanks for coming?
Yeah, he was like, thanks, see ya.
Hey, all right.
Did he put the unicycle in the bed of the unicorn unicycle and like in the bed of the truck?
No, he ditched the unicycle at some point.
He gives it to Detective Phil. He's like, here, hold this. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so like to the view for our environmental listeners, like, is it a work in progress, you think? Like,
Yeah, so I think we went down a path that hasn't been as developed yet. As I think there are currently. Rebecca, you can probably confirm.
Well, I got us all in trouble for hiking in Hayes Woods. We used to have field trips. That's in our sustainability and resilience field trips.
Yeah, I've been promised a few field trips.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to plan them anymore because I led everybody on some crazy excursion of bushwhacking through Hayes Woods and
Okay.
but that was like in the early days.
on foot. Yeah.
You know what we've got to do is get connected to Matt Jacobs in IMP, who is like a professional, I'm going to give him a title, professional bushwhacker. Like he does a lot of like trail maintenance and
He mapped them all, so he would know where the actual trails are.
Matt Jacob in Innovation and Performance, he's doing some amazing stuff with trail maintenance. He and his dog. I don't know who's in charge. Like I think Matt is, but like the dog, or maybe the dog's doing all the work. I don't know. But it's some really awesome stuff that he's doing with the greenways, and so we'll have to get him on the case.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it was gorgeous. It had great views of the Cathedral of Learning and the Argo AI test track, and
cool.
yeah, it was a...
That's like one of the interesting things, I think, right? Because you start to get like a different, particularly since it's untapped, you get this different perspective of the city. Like everybody's been to Mount Washington or, Fine View or the West End Overlook or, so you get that. So this is going to open up like a whole new view, a whole new like set of, who's the famous photographer?
Ansel Adams.
Not Ansel Adams. No. The famous Pittsburgh photographer, Dave.
Oh, Dave DiCello.
So like we'll have to get DiCello up there, and
Yeah, definitely. I'm so excited to go hiking, and
Dave DiCello is the Ansel Adams of Pittsburgh.
I'm sure he would love to hear that.
That's pretty accurate.
That's definitely a compliment. Yeah, for sure. So that's great. What do you think are some of the attributes of Hayes Woods that are like the it factor?
Me?
Yeah, for you.
I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, we've been looking at this in the Hazelwood Greenway too, but just hiking around and trying to figure out where those view sheds are, and then creating like access trails to them and clearing them so you can see better. And it's just kind of an untapped resource out there that you can start to look at, great places to go hiking or highlight.
With Hayes Woods, what is like the best access point if you are a city resident?
Is it Agnew Street, I think is?
That's where we...
Yeah, that's the only one I know of.
Okay.
There's some like Duquesne Light has some clearings around their utility poles and stuff up there. So there are some existing trails, but yeah, there's definitely all kinds of opportunity up there.
That's awesome. I hear there's a waterfall.
I haven't found it.
I heard
You found it?
about it.
No, I haven't found it.
We'll have to go look.
Yeah. Is this like a mythical, is it a legend or is it like real? I mean, like,
I don't know, the unicycle man said that it was there, so
people are like, the waterfall.
No, we should go find it.
yeah.
That
We
could
should.
Be, that could be so interesting. So you mentioned the Hazelwood Greenway, Rebecca. We also have a couple pieces of hardware here that we are super excited to share, and why we wanted to have both Haley and Rebecca. So for listeners, the city team here, we won 2 awards at the first annual Climate Cup in Glasgow, Scotland at COP26, which was just hosted last week. And so we got 2 pieces of hardware. And so for the 2 of you, I'm going to do a little just like they're like chess pieces. One is for, I don't know which is which, but one is for the Hazelwood Greenway and one is for the Marshall Plan for Middle America. So I want to just say congratulations to the 2 of you for your hard work in helping to, basically I'm just like a delivery engine. I had to like carry this in my pack. But it was a super event, and maybe I thought the 2 of you could share a little bit about the Hazelwood Greenway project and a little bit about the Marshall Plan for Middle America. And Haley, since you're the guest, maybe tell folks a little bit about what we affectionately call MP for MA, but you were a big component of that team, and tell us a little bit about the Marshall Plan.
Definitely. I've lovingly joked that the Marshall Plan is my child at my new job because it was a project that I kind of got thrown into. I sat in on one meeting.
As many projects are.
Yes, as all great projects start out, you sit in on one meeting. And then it became something that I was super passionate about that I didn't even know was something that I was interested in. So the Marshall Plan for Middle America is a regional project that brings together public and private stakeholders to create partnerships to create projects to redo our infrastructure, to have clean energy, new jobs, and utilize the resources that we have in not only southwestern PA, but Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, and then the rest of the state of Pennsylvania too. So it's a pretty cool project. We've gotten to do a lot of great work with it, which included having our kickoff summit. And we've gotten to meet a lot of great people and hear about a lot of really cool projects.
You know, one of the things that was super interesting for me about the Marshall Plan was the engagement with the other cities, and that's something that you had, played a critical role in connecting those dots. What are some of the takeaways that you had? You're in our office working with our mayor, but like working with Youngstown and Columbus and Dayton and Huntington and Athens, the other cities. A lot of similarities between the cities, or what were some of your takeaways there? Yeah,
I would say from a core, most of the cities in our region face very similar problems, especially when it comes to climate change. Yep. So it was interesting that we were talking about issues of landslides in Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati had those issues too.
That's right.
So there were a lot of connections to be made and a lot of really great ideas to be shared, and I think that was one of the things that made the Marshall Plan come together so well, is that we have these joint issues and can come together as a regional voice when reaching out to Congress.
So there's almost like a common kinship across the region of the Ohio River Valley and Upper Appalachia, and how those people are all connected.
Yeah, because we share a lot of the same resources that are being affected by climate change. Our rivers run through all of our states, literally, yeah. And we face a lot of the same climate weather patterns. So it was really nice to connect on those ideas for remediating those problems.
Awesome. And then Rebecca, the Hazelwood Greenway, tell us a little bit about that project.
Well, I think we should give a teaser and then maybe have a whole episode on the greenways.
I think we might uproot this whole new set and like do an episode. I'm gonna look to Heather. Is that possible? Like, can we uproot the whole set and do it in the Greenway?
And go to the Greenway? Ooh, yeah, we could. She's giving us a thumbs up.
She's like, let's do it. Well, real quick though, like, so what is the Greenway project there in Hazelwood, and why is it internationally renowned now?
So greenways are a class of properties in Pittsburgh that are not parks, but they're open space, and they have a permanent conservation easement on them. They were, formerly large vacant lots when the city lost half of its population, and then came under control of all these properties. They took the properties along steep hillsides and then put a permanent conservation easement on them so that you can't develop them. So because they haven't really been touched in the past 40 years, officially by the city, we this year started a Greenways partnership program through the 1PGH fund. And basically trying to, have the community lead what the restoration and like access or trails or clearing invasive vines, garbage pickup, things like that. But really community-led and just bringing as many resources as we possibly can to the greenways. So
awesome, that's great.
Yeah, we could have a whole episode on that.
Yeah, let's put a pin in a placeholder in that. One of the interesting things I wanted to share with you guys about the Climate Cup that I thought was really interesting. So we had.
Yeah, you went there live, so we want to hear about that.
Yeah.
I was there live. Two really funny stories that I'll lead off with, and then I'll get to like my substance. So the Friday before, I was on a panel in Glasgow, but from my office at home in my penthouse of Jancy Street office in Morningside. And
AKA your attic.
AKA my attic. And so that factors into this. So I thought it was just going to be this like Zoom meeting, where it's like everybody in their Brady Bunch style thing. And so I'm off camera and I have a standing desk. And so like I'm standing elevated up and I have, Rebecca knows, you know this too, like my attic is like right below my head. And everyone knows I'm not that tall either. So it's like a really shallow space. And so anyways, they're like, can you show your camera? And I'm like, sure. So I go on camera and here it is just like this. There's a moderator, 3 chairs, and then I'm on this giant screen behind all these folks. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God. And so immediately, and I can't move, I can't like lower my desk, like it started and there's like an audience out in front of us. And so I feel terrible for the audience, and then I feel really bad for the panels because like my big melon head is like towering over top of them. And so, for 40 minutes there, I can't move, and then I'm conscious about like everything. I'm blinking, everybody's looking at my eyes. And so that's how like my cop experience started.
You should have been here though, behind this desk with
I
all
should
these
behind
awards.
This desk with these awards and a couch and like kind of everybody with us. That would be much better. So anyways, we go to the Climate Cup event to fast forward, and it's in an IMAX theater. And so here we are with all the cities are lined up, and then there's a huge audience behind us. The mayor sneaks in, he's behind me, and because we didn't have Wi-Fi and connectivity, so I'm like, where is he? Is he going to be here? And so here they have these videos. And so you remember like when we were recording the video, and then we had Marty and Tiffany from Marty from our planning team, and then Tiffany from Hazelwood. We're trying to do this whole like bootstrap video of like what we're talking about. And then everybody else has these high production value videos. And so here, my next thing is they're like, and now from Pittsburgh, here's Grant, Tiffany, and Marty. And here's like our big heads on IMAX screens. And I'm like, oh man, it was a little embarrassing.
To be fair though, we made the video in a week before.
Yeah, less.
Yeah, we didn't. I think the other people they must have had pre-planning. They must have known.
They had a little bit of time, or they had a stock video, so
And we still got an award.
We still got an award. It's all about
2 awards.
But quick plug for like our cable team. We're gonna need you guys to produce some videos here. So
Yeah, we need some help.
we need some help for some production value. But it was a really cool event though. Like it was cities from the U.S. and the U.K. So we had Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, and Pittsburgh were the U.S. representatives, and then a cluster from UK cities. So it was a really cool experience. The thing I wanted to tell you guys that was really neat though, and kind of endearing, was each of the cities that won were a part of like different networks that we've been a part of. So whether it's Metro Lab or 100 Resilient Cities or the Urban Transition Alliance, and all of the projects had either a fellow or an intern that had matriculated, that worked with the city but then had matriculated into the project. And so, which was really cool. So like whether it was like yourself or Tiffany on our side, it started out as like an intern or a fellow and kind of work their way into and help make the project the project. Each of the cities had that.
No,
And
that's
so
cool.
It was really cool to see not just all of the innovative things, but just the development, the professional development that took part in that. So that was pretty neat. So that was one of my highlights. That and a traditional Scottish dinner. So
Very nice.
Haggis?
I did have haggis, and it is delicious. Haggis is good food.
What exactly is it?
So haggis, I'll tell you what I think it is, and I'll tell you what it is. So I would make haggis akin to scrapple or sausage, and so it's effectively a mixture of Anthony Bourdain has a more technical term, but it's the inner workings of the animal. And then it is spices and oatmeal and mixed together, and so it has like a very rich flavor.
Oh, there's oatmeal in it?
Yeah, so it's like one of the binding agents. And then traditionally it's cooked inside of a stomach or an intestine and then boiled in like a roasted or boiled in like a shallow roasting pan. And then it'll like expand, and then like you stab it, and then it pops open.
Whoa.
That's like if you're serving it family style. But we went to a place, a really good, a shameless plug for a place called the Ubiquitous Chip. If you're ever in Glasgow, I highly recommend it. And it would be like new Scottish cuisine. They usually serve it with neeps and tatties, so turnips and potatoes. And so they had just like this delicious puree, and then a roasted turnip, and then kind of a little cone of haggis. It was like high end.
What animal is it?
That's a good question. I'd have to look that up. Cow? Sheep? Sheep maybe? I'm gonna go with sheep. But I would have to.
That sounds right. That's what I would have guessed.
That would be my guess. So it's peasant cooking, kind of French peasant cooking, where you like accentuate your tip to tail usage of like all the materials of the animal.
No part left behind.
No part left behind. And so so it's really good. I recommend it. So I'm sticking to it. So back to you though, new position. Tell us a little bit about that and your transition.
Yeah, so I started last Tuesday with the Allegheny Conference Chamber of Commerce, which I'm super excited about. My team is awesome, and I'm super excited to get into projects with them. The first couple of weeks have been kind of a whirlwind, learning about the conference in general, all the different parts of it, and my team's function within that. So I'm still getting settled in and learning about it, but starting to get thrown onto projects, and I'm super excited about it.
Do you know what some of the projects you'll be working on with the team, or issues, topics?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the conference's big projects at the moment is working with autonomous systems, so autonomous vehicles and using robotics to make jobs easier. So that's something that I don't really know much about at the moment, but I'm super excited to learn about because I think it will have a big role in our region.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, just to kind of, before we wrap up, a couple of things. You also have some future plans too, right? So, future barrister, is that also one of your objectives?
Maybe.
Maybe someday?
Maybe. I am currently in the process of applying to law school.
You could use this as like your video, like why you should
why you should accept me to your law school. We will also be filming that on this couch. So that is something that I'm looking forward to doing in my future. I think that it would be a great way to think about things and problem solve in future career. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Not 100% sure when that's going to happen, but
sometime.
What type of law?
I'm not sure. I have a ton of things that I'm interested in. So I'm trying to go into it with an open mind, and I could go into it and be like, this is exactly what I want to do, and take a class and it completely changes my mind. So I'm trying to go into it as open as possible.
Open, clear mind.
Exactly.
That's terrific.
So.
Well, hey guys, I really appreciate it. Haley, it's so good to see you as always.
Good to see you. Thanks for
Thanks for
having
coming.
me.
Yeah, this is great. Rebecca, thanks as always, and thanks to bringing home the hardware and everything. Thanks for your contributions to the City of Pittsburgh. So.
Hey, thanks to the cable team for the sweet new setup too.
This is unbelievable.
Yep.
We're so blessed and thankful to have them here. So this is great stuff. So that is it for the Grant Street experience at our new fabulous set. We're so excited that you're listening and you're with us here today. We hope that you have a great day yourself, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.